Good evening and welcome to the Money Show. I'm Kavita Thaplayal and this is the show that puts your money matters front and center in a world full of financial noise. We are here to bring you clarity, confidence, control over your personal finances. Whether you're planning for retirement, building a portfolio, navigating debt, or just trying to make smarter money decisions, this is your space, your guide, and your daily check-in with your wallet. Every evening, we bring you insights from top financial experts, decode the latest trends, and answer your burning questions on saving, investing, spending, and everything in between. Because you're on the Money Show, we believe one thing: you don't have to be a finance expert to take charge of your money. You just need the right advice. So let's begin a very special show today. Now, in the world of investing, beating the market isn't luck, it's an art form. And the artists, that's right, they are the fund managers who have rewritten the rules of Indian wealth creation. Today, we dive into the mindsets behind the money, the strategies who navigate volatility, the visionaries who spot opportunities before the crowd, and the decision makers who turn conviction into alpha. Yes, this is the show where we talk about Blockbuster, Fund Managers of India, understanding the alpha game. In this show, we take 5 of India's most successful fund managers across categories, across philosophies, across eras, fund performances, and decode what truly sets them apart. We explore their return profiles, consistency, spikes, and the stories behind the numbers that they present, their playbook for handling market turbulence, what they buy, what they exit, and also why. Their sector bets and stock picking frameworks, their lenses on opportunity, their risk management DNA, how they avoid landmines while chasing growth, their behavioral edge, biases conquered, habits built, and discipline practices. And yes, definitely they are their unique formula for generating alpha year after year, because in a market where millions invest, only a few truly outperform. So who are they? How do they think? And what can we as investors learn from their journey? Let's break down all this brilliance. Let's decode the conviction. Let's uncover the alpha. And this is the Blockbuster Fund Manager of India, and the show begins now. Let's welcome Rajeev Thakkar, our expert on the show today, who is going to decode all of this and also tell us more about the star fund managers. But before that, Nirav, good evening. Welcome to the show. It's a very special show today, all right? And you've got to navigate our viewers along all of these questions that I just presented on the screen. But before that, before we let out the name of the fund managers and, deep dive into their strategies, what are the parameters that we are looking at over here? How have we created that list? On what parameters and requisites have we created this list?
So, Kavita, first of all, the show is indeed very special because, as you mentioned, all of us have been focusing a lot on the art. It is only a good thing to focus on the artists as well. So among the various parameters, I feel a few key parameters that have been considered is their ability to generate alpha, of course, across various cycles. So we are specifically focusing on fund managers who have been able to generate alpha across different seasons of the market. So that's one. That also reflects their consistency. Second, at the same time, we have been looking for fund managers who have had a very distinct style of investing and which has been consistently demonstrable over a longer period in time. So a good track record is also another thing that we looked at. At the same time, there are a few in the list that have been included on account of their ability to really turn around the fortunes of the funds, ever since they took charge of the fund. So specifically turnaround fund managers who led the charge and really turned the fate around for funds and the investors in those funds. So these are a couple of parameters that we looked at among several other quantitative, of course.
All right. So, in a market where narratives shift every quarter, these 5 fund managers have delivered something far rarer, consistent, repeatable alpha. And the names that you have brought to us, Nirav, are Sailesh Raj Bhan, contrarian large caps calls, Rajeev Thakkar's Buffett-style discipline, from Niket Shah's high conviction structural bets to Manish Gunwani's macro-driven agility, and finally to Taher Badshah's India's deep qualitative frameworks. This is the elite group that has quietly performed India's most competitive categories. Now let's break this down as per their strategies, their behavioral edge, and the alpha DNA that sets them apart. So let's begin this blockbuster show. And Sailesh Raj Bhan, what would you like to explain out here first?
So Sailesh Raj Bhan, I've had the good fortune to meet almost all of these fund managers among various others. So before I talk about the obvious data and story, I feel personally Sailesh really exudes an analytical first approach, right? He's one of those veteran fund managers who still in deep down in his heart thinks like an analyst, focuses like an analyst. He's not just about managing funds but getting into the deeper details of everything. Of course every fund manager does that, but Shailesh really exudes in every interaction, right? So Sailesh Raj Bhan, of course, from the Nippon AMC fame, he has been a stellar fund manager. In fact, he manages upwards of 1 lakh crores across funds, across three different funds. One could be a sectoral fund, the other two with much more flexible mandates, a multi-cap fund and a large cap fund. So he manages quite an array of funds. In fact, the pharma fund is definitely in safe hands because through his career early days, he has been, a very pharma-focused analyst. He has been able to spot trends in such a volatile and uncertain sector much ahead of the pack. So that's one thing really good for him. And another thing that really sets Sailesh apart is his philosophy, wherein he says that alpha is universal, right? In a world where narratives around market capability to generate alpha is widespread, he says alpha is universal. It exists in large caps, mid caps, small caps. It is not a market cap specific phenomenon, right? It is all about the right opportunities. So even if you look at the funds that he manages, the large cap fund and the multi cap fund, they have been stacking really well in terms of the near term as well as mid term performance. It has been performing and delivering very good alpha. In fact, it leads the packs by a significant margin. A special focus and a special hat tip to the large cap fund, considering that the large cap space itself is so competitive. And by competitive, I don't mean competing with each other, but competing against the benchmark itself. In fact, there has, for the longest time, there has been a lot of hue and cry around the fact that it's incredibly difficult for an actively managed large cap fund to beat an index. And, there are several studies that show that many actively large cap funds have failed to outperform the benchmark, but this one is clearly not a part of those observations. So in such a competitive segment, it has been able to generate good alpha in the near as well as medium term.
Right. I also want to
When you look
understand
at
his bets, Nirav, because it's very important that these because we're talking about active fund management, it's very important for these fund managers to outperform even when the market is lull and dull. So when we talk about risk management, when we talk about specific sector choices which are not in the flavor, how has he really played it in terms of time frames? If you can just explain that this was not doing well, but then because Sailesh picked this up, we can see that benefit in the return performance as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I feel very evident for anyone who has been tracking the funds that Sailesh manages. Some of them are really out there in the face. For instance, we know universally that he has been able to generate alpha exceptionally well during value cycles and broader market recoveries. But what is also slightly unknown or not quite spoken about is his ability to spot opportunities where not many guys are focusing. So, for instance, let's talk about the 2018 to 20 phase. Right, this was the pre-pandemic era. The market cycles were really narrow. There were only a handful of stocks that were performing. The breadth was pretty thin. This is the time when Sailesh started sowing the seeds of a turnaround performance, right? He started looking at segments and sectors that most guys on the street ignored. This included PSU firms, this included engineering firms. This included companies engaged in manufacturing activities, those engaging in the utilities segment, right? So these were not highly talked about then. These were not a flavor of the season. In a couple of these sectors were actively avoided at that point in time. But Sailesh came in and he took active bets and positions in several such companies. Right, he bought into opportunities where people almost on the street there was a very loose touting that the valuations are not really great there, the growth path is not going to be justified, but he dared to venture there because that's where he saw value, and that played out really well.
In association with SBI, best है सबको पता है. In association with Generali Central Insurance, आपका lifetime partner to protect everything you love.
जब इक्विटी में इन्वेस्ट करता हूँ तो डेट परफॉर्म करता है, डेट में करूँ तो कमोडिटी.
सर गेसवर्क से हिट एंड मिस तो होगा. इक्विटी, डेट, कमोडिटी तीनों एसेट क्लासेस की स्कीम्स में एक साथ इन्वेस्ट करो विद एक्सेस मल्टी एसेट एक्टिव एफओए, ताकि मार्केट जहां भी मूव हो आप अपॉर्चुनिटीज को पॉकेट कर सको. इन्वेस्ट नाउ.
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है. योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro, most stunning true color pro grade camera.
बोनस म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट रिस्की है ना.
ऑनलाइन शॉपिंग करती है, अब डिटेल्स चेक करके. वैसे ही इन्वेस्ट करने से पहले रिस्कोमीटर मुझे फंड का रिस्क दिखाता है और रिस्क प्रोफाइलर अपनी रिस्क टेकिंग कैपेसिटी, यानी रिस्क है
लेकिन सोचा समझा रिस्क.
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिम के अधीन है. योजना संबंधी सभी दस्तावेजों को सावधानी से पढ़ें.
विकसित उत्तर प्रदेश भारत की औद्योगिक और डिजिटल प्रगति का इंजन बनकर विकसित भारत एट 2047 की यात्रा को दे रहा है तेज गति.
विकसित भारत का जो प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी का विजन है वह विकसित यूपी से होगा, और विकसित यूपी से वह तब सब सपना साकार होगा जब आप सभी मिलकर के सामूहिक प्रयास करेंगे.
उत्तर प्रदेश आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, डीप टेक और साइबर सुरक्षा का बन रहा है हब. 45 लाख करोड़ रुपए के एमओयू के साथ उत्तर प्रदेश बन चुका है निवेश के लिए पसंदीदा निवेश गंतव्य.
कोई भी व्यक्ति उत्तर प्रदेश का हो, देश का हो, दुनिया का हो, ये मान सकता है उत्तर प्रदेश अब अनलिमिटेड पोटेंशियल का प्रदेश बन चुका है.
उत्तर प्रदेश लिख रहा है विकसित भारत की कहानी का सबसे मजबूत अध्याय.
रिस्क प्रोफाइलर के हिसाब से मुझे इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए, पर इक्विटी में स्मॉल, मिड, लार्ज हर मार्केट कैप में अपॉर्चुनिटी है.
तो मल्टी कैप फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कर लो. स्मॉल, मिड, लार्ज कैप और मल्टीपल सेक्टर्स में एक साथ इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हो. अगर एक इन्वेस्टमेंट से इक्विटी मार्केट के तीनों सेगमेंट्स और मल्टीपल सेक्टर्स का एक्सपोजर चाहिए तो तुम्हारे लिए मल्टी कैप में निवेश हुआ
सोचा समझा निवेश.
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिम के अधीन है. योजना से संबंधी सभी दस्तावेजों को सावधानी से पढ़ें.
जब इक्विटी में इन्वेस्ट करता हूँ तो डेट परफॉर्म करता है, डेट में करूँ तो कमोडिटी.
सर गेसवर्क से हिट एंड मिस तो होगा. इक्विटी, डेट, कमोडिटी तीनों एसेट क्लासेस की स्कीम्स में एक साथ इन्वेस्ट करो विद एक्सेस मल्टी एसेट एक्टिव एफओए, ताकि मार्केट जहां भी मूव हो आप अपॉर्चुनिटीज को पॉकेट कर सको. इन्वेस्ट नाउ.
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है. योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें.
Let's move on to the other star fund manager, that is Mr. Rajeev Thakkar, and definitely Parag Parekh as a fund house story and their specific fund story and the flexi cap is really hit, and his Buffett-style discipline. What would you like to talk about that?
So Rajeev Thakkar clearly among the sophisticated ones in the pack, and by sophisticated I mean his ability to maintain discipline and a stance that he's committed to irrespective of market cycles. So it is of course clear that he's driven by the Buffett monger style of value investing that forms a part of his core ethos. So that's something that is very well reflected and captured in his portfolios as well. He has generally been a very, very focused fund manager. He does not add stocks for the sake of it. In fact, if you notice, the AUM has shot up really steeply in the recent past, but his the number of constituents in his fund has not grown by the same magnitude or quantum. So he's very sure of the bets that he wants, and he will not simply add in the name of diversification. He loves maintaining a focused portfolio with stocks which he can back. He prefers smoother compounding journeys than chasing momentum, and this sort of class is also visible through the kind of holdings that he has. He does not mind sitting on cash if he is not sure of the opportunities available. He's willing to go against the grain. He's willing to sit on a lot of cash. Very recently, he has been among the top cash holding fund managers in the entire industry, right? So he's not going to deploy just for the sake of it. So that's why he maintains a lot of class and conviction in his style.
But then what's the conviction behind buying a lot when the market is in the turbulent trajectory? One really needs to have a lot of confidence to pick up stocks and take calls during that time.
Yeah, so he is also, the value style of investing also adopts a little bit of contrarianism in its approach, and that's well reflected around 2020, right, is when the steep crash came in, the drawdown came in. He had entered in with around a 13 to 15% cash. But during the months of March and April, in a world where everyone was uncertain about what the future holds, he deployed around 3/4 of this cash that he was holding. So even then, he was willing to go against the grain and deploy cash also very actively. This contrarian buying into the panic actually led to a yearly FY20 return of upwards of somewhere in the mid 20% return, whereas the category average was at very low single digits. So this led to a stellar performance. And also, he does not limit his canvas. He's probably among the only flexi-cap funds who effectively utilize the provision to also take exposure to foreign stocks. So among the only flexi-cap funds that has been able to benefit from the meteoric rise that we have seen in select big tech names listed on the US bourses. So he truly believes in the value style of investing and utilizes the mandate to the fullest extent to participate in opportunities.
One line, what's his alpha formula recipe, if I just want to know that?
So it is a very straightforward thing, very high conviction and disciplined approach, a very valuation conscious approach, again adopted from the classic Buffett monger style of investing, a very high degree of focus on margin of safety always, opening up the canvas beyond domestic if it is available, not shying away to going against the grain, taking cash calls and deploying cash aggressively at both turns of the market. So remaining steadfast during exuberance as well as panic situations, and viewing these two as opportunistic situations to either buy or sell. So very high conviction. He's one fund manager that matches his conviction with his sizing, which results in a very focused portfolio.
That we can see in the fund's return as well. But then let's move on, and someone who has conviction, on structural bets. We are talking about Niket Shah, and we can see that in the fund's performance also. Motilal Oswal flexi cap or a mid cap fund. So what's his style of investment and why is a star fund manager as per the parameters?
So Niket is a really dynamic fund manager. For the longest time, the fund house maintained a buy and hold sort of strategy. But in this fast evolving world, we needed a fund manager who could really be agile and nimble and manage the same agility even at larger scale. So Niket is exactly that. He has been able to demonstrate these capabilities wonderfully well, especially after he took charge of funds like the mid cap fund and the flexi cap fund, which posted a superb turnaround in the near as well as medium term. So between 2018 to 2022, some of these funds really struggled because of the buy and hold strategy. But with Niket taking charge and really being agile and nimble, the fortune have really turned in favor of the investors into these funds. The key recipe that has led to Niket's success and delivering alpha in its funds has been being nimble-footed, being timely, especially with respect to exits. So while buying is something that most people focus on, he's equally focused on the timing for exiting a fund. He believes in actively rotating within sectors, so he does not
But
really
then how
fall in
has
love.
this performance, right. So, his performance is especially under lens from 2022 onwards, So if you can highlight the decision making from that time till now, what has actually played on the fund's performance?
Yeah, so there are a few things that run common. One is that and especially in the near term, what he's done is he had gone underweight on the banking sector. So that is one thing. And he has been anticipating a sub 15% earnings growth, and on back of that, slightly against the grain here, underweight on banking, which has done slightly well for him. What has done even better is his sector positioning in the IT segment. So while most in the industry have been writing off IT for a very long time, he decided to take a very calibrated bet into IT, especially into the mid-cap IT segment, which has significantly outperformed the large-cap IT counterparts, which is very contrarian to what most other funds positions suggest. So this is something that led to significant alpha. He radically reduced the exposure to real estate and capital goods, citing valuation concerns, and that's how he is about valuations. He needs to be really convinced about it, and he, at the same time, among the very few players to take an active bet into the telecom sector, which structurally benefited from a macro reform, wherein tariff hikes, really gave a propelling effect to the stocks in the telecom segment. So these are a few bets that really helped. In September 2024, he also increased his cash holdings on the back of a weak earnings expectation, and that also helped him avoid a major accident, which also finally added into the overall alpha versus the peer category.
Okay, all right, let's move on. And the next name is Manish Gunwani and his macro-driven agility. And yes, definitely, we can see that in the fund performance also, be it Bandhan small cap, large and mid cap, or Bandhan focused, and also his conviction on buying small caps, looking at companies or stocks which can double up in a couple of years. So the stock picking definitely is one of the strengths. But apart from that, let's also talk about, the holding time in market turbulence, and obviously his risk management DNA, since he's handling a very huge or a large universe of small caps.
Yeah, so Manish himself is a veteran fund manager, although his stint with Bandhan AMC has been slightly newish, but definitely among the most prolific and astute fund managers out there that the industry has. So definitely with the Manish effect, several of the Bandhan funds have turned around into the green and very well. Manish typically believes that the primary role of a fund manager is that of risk management. So it is to avoid accidents at all costs, right, and to be nimble. So for this approach, what he does is he blends his top-down approach with a bottom-up stock picking style. So this is a hybrid style wherein most small-cap fund managers are known for having very good bottom-up stock picking skills, but he overlays it with a very strong understanding of macro developments and sectoral head/tailwinds that could impact the performance of sectors and segments that these small cap companies also operate in. So he adopts a very hybrid blend, and that has resulted in significant alpha. We are seeing small cap fund topping the charts in the medium term, large and mid cap fund also moving up the ranks along with the focus fund. So very strong turnaround across the funds that he is leading at the helm. So in his general playbook ensures that it should be nimble-footed, so the portfolio churn could be slightly higher than what it has been historically in the pre-Manish era for some of these funds. He doesn't shy away from making tactical calls and taking short-term bets also, because in an evolving world you need to be agile enough to respond to opportunities that come in, no matter how tactical. He also overlays it with broader themes like energy transition, power capex, real estate revival, the pharma recovery, and these are just a few themes that he's played out phenomenally
very well and timed it very well also. And the last name on this elite group is Taher Badshah and his deep qualitative frameworks. Quickly, what's the highlight from him?
So Taher is clearly one of the most composed fund managers in the industry. He is a contrarian at heart. The philosophy reflects very well in the performance of the contra strategy. So he focuses on granularity over broad strokes. He's not looking for stories or narratives. He is looking at pockets of growth that are not really identified or valued right now by the broader markets. He has a knack to spot at a bottom-up basis which companies are in a turnaround phase, and has been able to enter into such turnaround stories much ahead of the rest of the pack. He uses a very strong quantitative plus qualitative methodology. In fact, while quants are important and he does focus on earnings growth, ROCE, etc., fundamentals, he also focuses a lot on qualitative aspects such as the business durability, the competitive edge, the moat of the company in the segment that they're operating in, the positioning within the industry, quality of management. So a lot of qualitative aspects go into picking such contrarian bets, and the culmination of this methodology has resulted in phenomenal results for the funds that he's in charge of.
All right, I think with that, it's time up on the show as well. But then, yes, this elite group has these 5 names, and definitely the most important, crucial part of having this kind of a discussion is because the viewers and investors should know about their fund managers and the way they invest, and definitely the star fund, the performance that we can see from this elite group is evident in the fund's returns and the way investors have added them in the portfolio. But with that, it's a wrap on the show. Thank you so much, Neeraj, being on the show and helping our viewers decode the way our fund managers work, and also the Blockbuster fund managers of India. Thank you so much for this very special discussion that we had today. And for our viewers, it's time to sign off. But then, yes, apart from this, we also do your live financial planning on the show. So just in case you have any question or any financial planning that you want to get done by our experts, just send across your queries on our WhatsApp number that's flashing on the screen. And also, you can email us your queries. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.